You should've messed with me. You should've messed with me. You should've messed with me.
What's going on, Gooners and Goonerettes? Big shout out to all of you. Big up yourselves, everybody. Big up yourselves. Shout out to Saka. Man signed the ting. He signed the ting. And there's reasons to be cheerful for, and obviously there's a little concern. Reasons to be cheerful for. The guy's been at the club since he was 7. It's so good to see him commit himself to the club. And when you look at it logistically, and the love that he brings to it, he weren't really going to go anywhere else. It wasn't expected that he was going to go somewhere else and let Arsenal down. It just was never going to happen. He talked to Ian Wright. First of all, let's go to the first video. The first video shows him through Hayland as the timeline goes through to his current day, and it just shows how much he's grown as a player, he's grown as a man, and he's developed in every single way possible. And I love that video. The next one they launched was with Ian Wright. We sits down, he talks to Ian Wright for about 10 minutes, and he just talks about his passion. He just talks about how he could never ever leave this club. And it's just so nice to hear a player just talk about things where it's more than football. Being a part of Arsenal, wearing the badge, it's more than just money or anything that could be there. Now, he's one of them guys that money ain't going to change. Money ain't going to change him. They're talking about, I believe it's around 240 or 50 or something like that. And then with incentives, it's 300 grand a week. But at the end of the day, this is a staple player. This is the guy that the franchise is built its shoulders on. So it's really good to see him commit himself. The slight concern is it's only a 4-year deal. Everyone right now is signing 5-year deals. And then if you look at Chelsea, I know the Premier League has shut down on these 7-8 year contracts and great. So there's nothing you can really do about that. But I would have liked to have seen a 5-year deal done with Saka. Keep him in the club till he's 27. That just gives you a little bit more to play with. The problem here, guys, is you're paying him 300 grand a week. So where do you go from there? You know, when his contract's up now, when he's 25, he'll have a year left on his contract in the next 3 years. And then you're going to be talking about 350, 400 grand a week. You know, where do you go from there? So it doesn't give you much room to maneuver. And that's my only gripe. But look, the most important thing is done. And that's him signing on the dotted line. It's done. Now the only thing that we've got to be concerned about is Saliba. And then there's extensions with Odegaard, which I'm sure would not be a problem. Odegaard knows, first of all, he's the captain of a team now that's playing in the Champions League. He's right where he wants to be. So with Odegaard, we can tick that off. He's the most vocal. There is not anyone who talks and shouts and speaks to the players on the field more than Odegaard does. He's the most inspirational. When he puts his hands up, I know there's a few players that you can link us alongside with him. Probably the closest will be is Zinchenko. But he leads by example. And we've seen that in games where he's grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and he's just pulled Arsenal towards committing to get a result. And that's Martin Odegaard. That's the guy you have that's going to lead your team. So I'm so glad that they've got that sorted out. But Saliba is the problem. Saliba's the key, because we were leaking goals before his injury. But since the last 10 games when he was out, I mean, you only had 1 clean sheet. And that was that masterclass at St. James Park. That was at Newcastle, 2-0 win, brilliant game. But without Saliba, we just look lost. We just look lost. And there's so many things he brings. It's not just his defending. A lot of the things he does, bringing the ball out, goes unspoken. And a lot of that starts attacks. And he's a very important part to how that works. Set pieces is another thing as well. We saw where Kivior was brought down by someone stepping on his ankle, and obviously that caused a lot of problems letting a goal in. But those things don't seem to affect Saliba. Those things, he's just a man mountain. It bounces off him. Everything, tackles bounce off him, challenges bounce off him. When he's in the box and set pieces, almost feels like you've got a 6'4" Sol Campbell. It almost feels like you've got that staggering tower of a man in there, the immovable object, which is Saliba. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on there. But listen, congratulations to Bukayo Saka and Arsenal and Edu for getting the deal done. And Richard Garlick, thank you guys. You don't go spoken about enough. A lot of fans, they'll talk about Arteta, they'll talk about the players, but Edu, Richard Garlick, it doesn't go without saying what a great job that those guys are doing in the front office. So we really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. So big up yourselves. Now let's talk transfers. Transfers, guys. The Declan Rice isn't going to be as easy as everybody thinks. Now, I'm hearing there's meetings with his agent that is going to be happening, and really that's only finalising the personal terms that they already had sorted out. But it's not stopping other teams from getting involved, and we're hearing now that Bayern Munich is in the race for Declan Rice. So, again, it's not going to be easy. I guess the player has already seen Arsenal in his sights and he's committed to moving to the club, and if that's the case, then it's great. But it's really going to be, this is another Rafinha thing where West Ham's going to set a price, and it's who's going to adhere to that price that's going to make it happen. Now, the most Arsenal has ever spent on a player is 72 million in Pepe. But Bayern Munich don't actually go out of their ballpark to sign players for that amount of money. We know how it works at Bayern Munich. So 100, 120 million for Bayern Munich, I can't see that happening, guys. I cannot see that happening at all. And maybe it's a rumour, maybe it's just something to sort of scare Arsenal into paying as much money as they can. It's just probably scare tactics. It may be. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. But what I'm saying is I'm sure that Declan Rice is 100% committed to the club. The Mason Mount thing, I'm not a really big fan of. We've got so many of those types of players. Why would you even entertain someone like him when you got Smith Rowe? And, you know, Mason Mount was called up for England and sort of dropped as well. So was Smith Rowe. But you've already got Smith Rowe. Develop him in the same way like you did Saka. If his injuries hold up, then take it from there. Because it's easier to take a player you've got in-house, develop him, make him the player that you want to fit the system, and then inspire him in that way. It's so much easier to do that rather than go out there, spend millions and millions and millions. And you have to look at how to manage that kind of money. So the Declan Rice, that's going to be cash. On the flip side of that, if you look at Gundogan, he, on the other hand, could go on a free. That would be great business. That would be massive business if you're Arsenal. Just by fudging the numbers and looking at how much money that you got to spend this summer. Bringing someone like him, I'm all for it, guys. I'm all for it. He doesn't play like he's 32. He's definitely an influencer. He's their captain. So he'll be able to bring with him a lot of gravitas to the team. A lot of experience. And in that number 8 role, a lot more impact than what we had with Xhaka last season. So I'm all for that, guys. No problem from me from dealing with that at all. But really, it's going to be a summer where you have to make statements. And the sooner you do business, the better it will be for you, the club, the player, etc. This isn't going to be a summer where you can sort of go into deals half-hearted and sit on deals. Because let's face it, I know there's still a lot of people on the forum that's talking about Arteta as the manager and everything else. But what's your solution? Look, Spurs ain't even found a manager yet. Chelsea found a manager that's already failed at Tottenham. So if you're a team right now, the question is who are you going to be looking for your next manager? You've seen what Arteta's come through and done. He's got his team into the Champions League. He's got his team a trophy already within 3 years of his managerial debut. He has 3 years experience of being a manager, and these are the things that he has already been able to achieve. Take what he's given you and run with it. You've seen what he can do. Let's see how far that he can go. Yeah? Before there's any talk of, yeah, let's try and get a manager to get us over the line. Because there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. There is not a manager out there right now that can get anybody over the line. Because if you look at the amount of managers that have come into these top 10 teams, and Man United and Spurs and Chelsea are competitors, they're failing. They're all failing. So for some of you Arsenal fans to talk about, yeah, and you know who you are, to talk about, yeah, let's see if we can now turn it up. Yeah, thanks for what you've done, Arteta. We'll take it from here. Yeah, bun that. None of that. Because you essentially have to look at what's going on elsewhere and see that that doesn't work. There's no plan to do that. There's no roadmap. There's no process. And all that will happen is that you'll think short term, and then you end up burning a lot of money, burning a lot of resources, re-slacking a lot of players, and it just doesn't financially fit our model on what we're trying to do right now. So I'm not in favour of that at all. You won't get that from me. Let's appreciate what we've done, how we've built, and let's see how far we can go. With Arteta, Edu, Richard Garlick, it's a whole new team that we're building here, guys. And the players now are turning from boys to men, and let's see them thrive going into their prime. Let's see how far this thing goes. But there's definitely an aspect of Arteta knowing, and he's already admitted, that he needs to grow. And we're talking about player development and player appearances, burning your team out. We've seen back-to-back years now he's been doing that. There's a stat now that's come out that Manchester City are the least team when it comes to burning their players out. They have the highest rotation in the Premier League, and Arsenal are among the bottom that have the lowest rotation in the Premier League. And that doesn't work, guys. That's not a recipe for success. So they all know that this is something they need to work on and develop if Arsenal are going to aspire next season. You can see I'm wearing my French Arsenal top now. So big up Tony, man. Big up all of you guys. And listen, let's see what happens in the last game. I'm expecting a reaction in front of their fans. The African Gooners travelling over from South Africa, so we've got him for the weekend. We're all going to be meeting out on Saturday down Camden Town, and we're going to spend a day at the stadium as well. We're going to shoot some videos there. So listen, shout out to all of you guys, and I'll speak to you soon. Big up yourselves, man. Peace right back at you, everybody. Nice one, guys.
Go stupid, go stupid, go stupid, go stupid, bitch. Yeah, you should've messed with me. You should've messed with me.